It's time now for Backyard Estate Planning. Join us in the backyard, pull up a chair, and enjoy a drink, because for the next hour, we'll answer your questions about estate planning. How do you avoid unnecessary taxes? Protect your assets from lawsuits and divorces? How will you be able to afford nursing care at the end of your life? These and other questions will be answered in this edition of Backyard Estate Planning. The phone lines are open at 521-8383. Now here's your host, Rowen Young, on News Radio 830 KHVH.
And welcome again to Backyard Estate Planning. I'm your host. I'm your neighbor. I'm tax attorney Rowen Young. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of Hall & Oates and Vegas Turnaround. Woo! Love that song. Anyway, welcome to the backyard as we talk neighbor to neighbor about your questions and comments about wills and trusts and taxes and probate, passing assets during your lifetime, effective at your death, and beyond. All with the idea of preserving those assets, continuing to have control and benefit, and maybe underlying all of this is a little bit of financial privacy. Yeah. So, if you have a question or comment this Saturday afternoon, feel free to give us a call here at the station. The number 521-8383, 521-8383 this Saturday afternoon. Now, maybe you're new to the program. Oh, yeah. Now, we've been on for almost 22 years here. Yes, I was younger at that time. But in that time, imagine in your mind's eye. Close your eyes. Just imagine a little bit. We're all in the backyard, you and me, and it's kind of nice and shady, and a little breeze going on, and everybody's got a little something to drink. Just chitting and chatting about what's going on. Got lots to catch up on. We don't get together all the time. And of course, one of your neighbors, yours truly, is an attorney. Yeah. And not just an attorney. Now, there's plenty of attorneys, all due respect to them. But I've been practicing for the last 30 years in this same area of law, wills and trusts and the like. I inhale and exhale this stuff. In fact, I've sat down and planned over 8,000 estate plans. Line them up, if you can imagine, 8,000 people, and I sit down and I take the information and put the paperwork together and deliver it. And what I'd like to do is to share with you some of the thoughts and ideas, some of the questions and comments that I share with my own clients, and my clients share with me. So if you have any questions or comments on the subject, feel free to give us a call. The number here, 521-8383, 521-8383, excuse me, this Saturday afternoon. So, I'm sitting with a family, 3 generations, and it's like we're talking in 3 different languages. Number one son, he's middle-aged, of course, and he's trying to arrange affairs so that we can preserve the family home for the next generation. And parents are certainly concerned about that, but they're concerned about something else. And the last generation, they're talking about something else too. And this almost erupts into more than just a discussion, And after everything is said and done, I get a chance to talk with number one son by himself, that is, without the rest of the family there. And I make an observation, and I hope this observation helps you as maybe you deal with an older or younger generation. I said to him, your pops, he's older now, and he's thinking about something else. He's thinking about, you're thinking about preserving the assets, and he's thinking about, I don't know what we're thinking about. But they're struggling, and they're trying to get harmony in the family, and And do you see it? And he says, yeah, I see it. Man, I don't know what's going on with these guys. So I tell him what I think I see. And I share this with you, that the older generation, at some point in time, they're not impressed with wealth. Okay, they're not, how many houses can you live in? How many clothes, changes of clothes can you wear? How many cars can you drive? How many meals can you eat? They're just not impressed anymore. So here's an observation. It seems to me that as people get older, they are more interested in family peace. Yeah, peace in the family. So much so, that sometimes from the older generation's viewpoint, even if it means getting rid of the house and losing all the family wealth, well, that's okay. That's okay. Of course, I'm not sure that I can stand for that. In fact, I'm trying to preserve the wealth so they all have a place to stay. But once that's recognized, things start to fall into place. And then the plan starts to come together. And then we can listen intelligently and hear the message that our older generation wants to tell us. Let's face it, they were our age at one time, and soon we'll be theirs. So the sooner we learn these lessons, maybe the better. In any case, guess what? It's time for our first break. You've been listening to Backyard Estate Planning. I'm your host and neighbor. I'm tax attorney Rowen Young. Stay tuned, and we'll be back right after these important messages.
You're listening to Tax Attorney Rowen Young and Backyard Estate Planning on News Radio 830 KHVH.
I'm your host and neighbor. I'm Tax Attorney Rowen Young. Let's go ahead and take a caller. We've got Kathy on the line. Hi there, Kathy. This is Rowen Young.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a situation where I live in an affordable home through the government, and they subsidize us paying our mortgage when we can't.
Wow.
If our income goes down, our mortgage goes down. My husband and I had to use that for a couple of years living in this affordable home. And I was curious because I know in the long run when we do end up paying off the house, we owe the subsidy that the government paid during the time our mortgage went down back. So knowing that they offered us times where if we pay the full amount back, that is this interest on the subsidy, that they've made the difference. If we pay everything back to the government, they'll lessen it. But if we don't pay it back, we live in the house, even though we paid it off, and as long as we live in the house, we don't owe them nothing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we never have to pay it as long as I live under that roof. As long as I don't sell it, rent it out, as long as I live in it, I don't ever have to pay the government back.
Well, what happens? Yeah, what happens later, though? I mean, you die or whatever.
That's my question. That's what I thought maybe you could answer.
Wow. Now, you know what? I'll tell you just straight out. Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with this program that you're talking about. It sounds very frightening, though. We see variations of that with that reverse mortgage, and that thing just piles up, Yeah. And wow. So I guess your approach to this would first depend on whether or not you have children. Now, I'm not asking you, but if you have children, then you got somebody to leave this house too, right?
Exactly.
Then the next one would be if your children intend on staying in the house. Now, sometimes kids, they don't want to stay in the house, so if they're going to be selling it anyway, then maybe it's okay. I don't know. That's a hard thing to say. Do you mind if I ask, do you have children?
Yes, they're all full-grown adults. I have grandchildren included. One grown adult lives at home with me.
Oh, shoot. Okay, we know what's going to happen. Well, you know what? Maybe the correct approach would be to share this information with them, and maybe somebody wants to step up and save the house. But this is Hawaii. It's hard to get real estate, so, yeah. Wow, what an interesting, do you mind, do you know what the name of this program, this loan program is?
Actually, it was starting the Holani project.
Holani.
Yeah, they should have more in Hawaii, I'll tell you, and have less homeless. So my mortgage is $515 a month.
Oh, my goodness. I think that's my electric bill.
I hear you. It's 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom, single carport. There's a project out in Makaha. It's called the Holani.
Huh.
And it's your single-unit homes. We're cramped. We're tight. Yards are small, but it's a roof over our head.
Oh, well, that's the name of the game in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the fact you get hurt, which what happened to my husband, mortgage goes down.
Wow.
They pay the difference.
Now, when you say 500, it went down from 500, or?
Yeah, we were paying $191 a month out of our own pocket, but they subsidized, making it look like we paid the max, $515.
Sounds almost too good to be true,
Exactly. I didn't even think about the paying back part. I never knew that part. I never knew that part would exist because we never even thought we'd ever use it.
Yeah.
That isn't something that just went right by us when we bought the house at the time.
Well, who's probably an expert in this stuff is Percy Ihara. He's the guy we talk about when we want to talk about reverse mortgages. He might know something about this, but darn, this is beyond me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I know. I talk to people and they're just looking at me like, what?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, you do estate, so maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for the call, then, Kathy, and I appreciate it. Good luck to you. Hope you get that mortgage paid off.
Amen. I'm so close.
Okay. Thanks.
Right
Thank you again. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. You're listening to Backyard Estate Planning. I'm your host and neighbor. I'm tax attorney Rowen Young. Kathy's situation, but for the mortgage, when you have a house, that's the first indication, that you ought to think about doing a trust. Of course, I've faced a situation where, what if a house has this strange mortgage on it? Now, I've not seen a mortgage like Kathy's one, but I have seen one with a reverse mortgage. And the question there was, should we do a trust for a property with a reverse mortgage? And the answer was yes. Yeah. Because when a person dies, they give you a year to pay it off. And if you got to go through probate, well, that might take 4 months, might take 6 months. Now, in that 6 months period, possibly you could have fixed it up, sold the property, and you would have saved on the mortgage adding to the mortgage. A little bit tight there, but if you've got a reverse mortgage or a mortgage like this, it still might be worth considering a trust to avoid the probate. I've not yet seen anybody at the end of the time decide to walk away from it. That is, this is still Hawaii, and property is supposed to go up in value. So that's a thought. Whenever you have a piece of real estate, typically we talk living trust already. Now, again, the purpose is to avoid probate. But, maybe we should take 2 minutes and talk about the other ways of avoiding probate. Before the time of living trust, people used joint tenancy to avoid probate. They put all their kids' names on a deed, make them joint. One person dies, file a death certificate, no probate. That's it. Now, that kind of planning was fine for getting around probate. But when the kid on the deed got married and divorced, the kid on the deed is driving and got into a car accident. The kid on the deed doesn't take care of their own finances, files bankruptcy. Yikes. You might lose a piece of the house. And so that is another way of avoiding probate, but you may be avoiding probate. When you use joint tenancy, you may be you might lose the whole property. in order to avoid probate. So a little bit, it's not something that we recommend generally. Even though it's easy to understand, there's so many, assumptions. You're going to assume that, this person, also the problem with joint tenancy, you got to die in the right order, right? Parents are supposed to die before children. Does that happen? No. Ask anybody. Sometimes kids die before children, before parents, and that messes the plan up. Yeah. Anyway, so this Holani project, interesting. Again, not something that I'm familiar with, and just the mortgage side of this. And of course, like the reverse mortgage, I imagine that what you don't pay back generates interest, and maybe interest on the interest. That's called compound interest. And it adds to the mortgage. That's the way the reverse mortgage works. And that thing can go on and on and on and on. So, again, it depends on what your situation is. But you end up essentially renting the house. Now, if you're paying like Kathy, $500 a month for a 3-bedroom house, well, that might be a good deal, whether it's a rental or whether you're actually buying. And so you have to be thankful for whatever you can. Again, it depends on what your goals are. Living in Macau, you get jobs, you're working out there, that kind of thing. And like she's already explained, it's really tricky stuff when people get sick and or people get hurt and things happen. Anyway, so I hope things work out well for you, Kathy, and for your family. But you know what? You might as well ask. You got nothing to lose. Here it is. You call some stranger on the radio on Saturday afternoon. You might as well go call those Holani people and say, hey, so what happens if? What happens if? What happens if? Now, here's what I would ask if I were, one of the questions I would ask is if both husband and wife die, this is going to go through probate. Can I avoid probate? By using a trust. Some of these guys, they don't like trust, And the reason is, they're counting on the probate. Now, I'm talking specifically about Medicaid. They count on the probate in order to submit their bill. So they don't like trusts. So that can be a little tricky, too. In any case, I hope you've enjoyed some of those thoughts. Let's see. It is a little early, but maybe let's go ahead and take our next break. You've been listening to Backyard Estate Planning. I'm your host and neighbor. I'm tax attorney Rowen Young. Stay tuned, and we'll be back right after these important messages. And welcome again to Backyard Estate Planning. I'm your host and neighbor. I'm tax attorney Rowen Young. We're coming to you live this Saturday afternoon. If you have a question or comment, feel free to give us a call here at the station. The subject is estate planning. The number 521-8383. 521-8383 this Saturday afternoon. Now, if I made a comment and spoke a little too quickly or kind of mumble a little bit, and what did he say? Well, you know what? You got a couple more opportunities to listen to this program. They're recording this program right now, and they're going to rebroadcast it. They're going to play it again tonight, Saturday night on KIKI. KIKI is a sister station, and this program will be rebroadcast at 11 o'clock, 11 to 12 midnight. Now, if that weren't enough, it's also going to be rebroadcast tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, from 6 to 7 a.m. right here on KHVH. Let's go ahead and talk with Patty. Hi there, Patty. This is Rowen Young.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I have a question about a living trust that was established by a friend of mine for her son. she passed away, her husband passed away, and the executor of the estate is nowhere to be found.
Oh, boy. Yeah. And there's, how old is the son? Is the son an adult?
The son is 19.
Yeah, okay. Well, when you have no trustee, you got to go to court and ask the court to appoint one. So, yeah. That's one of the reasons why we set up trust so we don't have to go to court. Was there an alternate trustee maybe?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
Sometimes, and I criticize, maybe I should keep my mouth shut. I criticize other attorneys for drafting the documents so tight, yeah?
Yeah.
The slightest thing goes wrong, and the whole thing falls apart. They could have put some alternate persons in there, right?
Well, it's the lesson to be learned. It's very sad, though, because, this boy is supposed to receive quite a substantial amount of money when he's 25, and at this point, the family, the scuttlebutt is that the money's been spent, and
oh, boy.
So it's kind of sad. So is that, that's a crime, I assume?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. That's a 911, and, of course, I don't know how you get records for something like that, but you're somebody's taking money out of the bank. It's there's got to be a paper trail that's very how do I say a mile wide, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll need to try to help this kid find an attorney.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye now. Huh? Kind of interesting, yeah. Darn. Parents die. They name one person, to be the trustee, and the person's not around. A couple of thoughts there. You may not be aware of this. You may not like to hear this, but your estate plan has to be reviewed. Yeah. I explain it this way. Your estate plan is like your spare tire. It's a very good thing to have, and it's necessary. But have you noticed that in the real spare tire, like in your car, it goes flat after time, and you didn't use it or nothing? Yeah, well, that happens with estate plans. Over time, it goes flat. And it's for things like this. Are the lists of trustees still available? Is it a good list? Is it a long enough list? How long is long enough? Well, I like to add all the children. You got 4 kids, let's make it 4 children long. Or, let's put as many as we possibly can. I know in one family I put 6, one at a time though, okay? Why did I do that for? Just because of the situation that Kathy talked about. Excuse me, that was Patty. And that is, what if you run out of trustees? If you run out of trustees, you go to court. Gee, isn't that what you were trying to avoid when you set up the trust to begin with? Yes. And of course, in most trusts, it says that if all the trustees are not available, then the beneficiaries can vote for their own trustees. Many documents go on to say that if a beneficiary is an adult, they can vote for themselves. And that makes some sense because you can go chase your money down. And you're right, sometimes the money that might have been there is not. Then you don't want to spend a lot of time or money, chasing it down, or, you're going to have to identify these people. Typically, they're family. I don't know if you want to go file a lawsuit against family, or if you want to call the police on a family member. It makes for a very strained family gathering if you put some family member in jail. But people are people, and I remember in one situation, the personal representative was one of the beneficiaries. The other beneficiaries were all cousins like that. There must have been 8 or 10 of them. And as it happened, this one beneficiary, the personal representative, she was young. She's in her early 20s, and she had, quote, inherited her family house. This is unrelated. And she couldn't make the mortgage payments, was facing foreclosure, was going to lose their own residence. And without anybody's permission, she took the money and paid her mortgage off, or paid it down to the point where she could manage it. Essentially stole the money. And these other family members, they had to decide what they wanted to do. And so, is it different if you get robbed by a family member, and then if you get robbed by some non-family member? Is there a difference? Well, maybe there is, because in that situation, the family got together outside of my presence. I didn't know this was happening, and they decided to let it go. And life goes on. But again, I suppose it really doesn't go away. There's going to be some strained family gatherings, and maybe this personal representative who did the wrong thing will make it right in the future. I don't know. These are tough times. Yeah. So I hope you realize that. Personally, I don't like to touch anybody's money. I don't put myself in as trustee or personal representative. Even when it comes to changing accounts from the into the trust, things like that. No, I don't get close. At one time, that was the norm. At one time, lawyers would write to the bank and say, "Dear bank, change so-and-so's trust. And here's the new wording." Very bold stuff. And, I promised myself I would not ever do that kind of thing. Anyway, so I thank you for that call, Patty, and I hope that was helpful to everyone. That is, there is a human side to this, and sometimes it's not so nice. Yeah. Anyway, so early on we were talking about the differences in attitudes between our oldest clients, who seem to want peace in the family as the primary thing, not preservation of the assets. Then the next generation, they want to preserve the assets. And the last generation, the third, they seem to be oblivious. That is, they don't know what's going on. And so the planning continues on, and hopefully things turn out for the best. All right. Anyway, so about a month ago, someone asked a kind of interesting question: can they do their own will? And I thought to myself, I got a related question to that. Someone asked me. Someone asked me, can a paralegal do my estate plan? I thought that was an interesting question, because in a lot of offices, the paralegal is the one who puts together the paperwork. Now, when I first started practicing law, we had a paralegal who was doing that. And what was interesting about this paralegal was she was a part-time worker in high school. Okay? Yeah, she was in high school. And she's putting together these very, very complex trust documents. And that was my first taste of word processing. I told myself, well, which is easier, for me to teach her the law or for me to learn word processing? And so I started, doing my own documents. But back to the question, can a paralegal do estate planning? Well, certainly a paralegal might be able to put the documents together. But here's what I told that lady. I sat her down. She asked me the question, and I started asking her a whole bunch of questions. And in 5 minutes, I had uncovered basically all of her estate planning goals and had made solid suggestions about how she should design her estate plan and what order and things like that. And that was a difference. That is, a paralegal can put together the documents, but putting together the documents is not the hard part in estate planning. The hard part in estate planning are the questions that a person like me will ask. And I tell you, I'm amazed at myself because depending on the series of questions that I ask for from party to party differs. I go, darn, I don't know what I'm going to ask, but from one appointment to another appointment, the series of questions differ. And much of it depends on how they come in, right? Who they come in with. I say things and how they react. I talk about the weather. And depending on how they answer that, I'll go ahead and ask them different questions about their estate plan. And based on all these things, I kind of feel my way, not literally, but I sense my way through, and I come up with a series of suggestions. And that, I don't think a paralegal can do. Now, based on all these questions and the proper answers, then, I can put the paperwork together. But can a paralegal ask the questions? I don't think so. And we're coming to you live this Saturday afternoon. The number here, if you have a question or comment, is 521-8383. 521-8383 this Saturday afternoon. Now, this show's coming to you live and is being recorded as we speak. This show will be rebroadcast. They're going to play it over again tonight, Saturday night, from 11 to 12 midnight on KIKI. That's 11 to 12 midnight on KIKI 990 on your AM radio dial. Then they're going to rebroadcast it again Sunday morning, tomorrow morning, from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, right here on KHVH. And, of course, if it's time to talk about your particular estate planning options, be glad to sit down with you and talk about your options. Now, here's what's going on. I sit here on the radio, right, and I pick out one page, out of the encyclopedia. The encyclopedia is really big. Encyclopedia of Estate Planning. And we talk about that one page. Now, that might be interesting, and talk about stuff. But it might have nothing to do with you, okay? And so, when we sit down, you and I, we'll not talk about the pages that don't matter. Who knows? I mean, maybe you got a horse or something. I don't know. You want to do estate planning for your pets? We don't talk much about that. But if that's your situation, we're going to be talking about it. Or maybe your children are extra young, or extra old, or sick, or in jail. We got a couple of those. We're not going to talk about stuff that doesn't apply to you. So when we sit down, we'll talk about those particular parts of estate planning that apply to you. Okay, and then we talk about your options, different ways to set it up. This is all part of a free initial consultation. So if you're interested in sitting down and talking about your options, give my office a call. The number 944-1554. That's 944-1554. Hey, talk to my secretary. She'll set you up time and things like that. Come to my office. And about 45 minutes. And in that time, I'll go ahead and try to design a plan for you. Gives me a chance to show off a little bit, I tell people, in my younger days, I could review a 60-page document, 60-page trust, in 60 seconds. Well, now that I'm much older and wiser, it takes me almost 2 minutes instead of 1 minute to do it. My fingers, I cannot turn the pages like I used to. Anyway, gives me a chance to chat with you. And you know what? I'm like this in person too. That is, we'll talk neighbor to neighbor about your situation. And if anything, one of the, quote, situations that I create is I give you too many options. Okay, I give you 5 different ways we can do it. Oh, my goodness. Hey, cut it down to 1 or 2. Okay, we can do that too. So again, if you're interested in a free initial consultation, call my office at 944-1554. That's 944-1554. The number will be given again later on in the program. Yeah. So, we were talking a little bit about these people who want to do their own estate plan. The first cousin, to these people who want to do their own estate plan. Well, we got to talk about a special group of people, and that's attorneys. Okay. You know, it's worse than an attorney who does estate planning and tries to do his own estate plan. Is an attorney who doesn't do estate planning trying to do his own estate plan. Let's talk about the first group. Some time ago, eminent estate planning attorney, Leighton Wong, died. He was 48. That was like 8 years ago. He died. Oh, man, that was sad. I mean, he was very well liked, and he was top-notch. Property went through probate. Yeah. Help everybody avoid probate. Come to him and go probate. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. More recently, I've come to learn about another estate planning attorney. He had been in the practice for about 30 years. And when he died, there's no will, no power of attorney, no nothing. I mean, no trust. You got a house, no trust, no nothing. Okay? I don't know what to say. But do you see what I'm kind of getting at? Yeah. You cannot figure this out on your own. I tried to do my own estate plan. I don't think I can do a good job. Yeah. When I do an estate plan for somebody else, unconsciously, I'm taking mental notes about how quickly they walk. Or maybe they walk a little slower. Maybe they got a little limp. All of this is being processed, right? Maybe a little tired, distracted. I'll test people. I tell them a joke, see if they laugh. I'm not trying to be funny. It tests my, what directions we're going to go, how deep we can go. I'll tell you that those people who bring in help, and I mean usually it's their children or whatever, they get better plans. Okay, I remember last week, one of our clients brought in their grandson. Guy's like 19 years old, okay, 20 years old. I look, my eyes open wide, okay. I'll tell you that at 20 years old, I never stepped foot in a lawyer's office. So 20 years old, he comes in and we start talking. Now, I'm looking at his grandparents, but the voice is coming out talking to him. Because all this falls on him. They're going to start asking questions. What about this? Why do we do this? Why don't we do it this way? Because. And so let me be bold, okay? And that is, if you bring a helper along to do your estate plan, we can do the same documents for you and another person, and your plan will turn out better. Things will go smoother. I'll tell you, you should talk to, and I'll go ahead and try to dig these people up. Talk to these people who have had good estate plans. Their parents' plan all set up, turn out beautiful. They go, oh, is that it? Oh, gee, no problem. Wow, we didn't have to do anything. Very little, very little. That can be your situation too. Yeah. Anyway, so that takes time. It takes a little bit of attention and a little bit of reminding. Yeah. And hopefully things come out just the way that you want it. I hope you've enjoyed some of those thoughts, because you'll never guess it. Yep, there's my theme song. And that marks the end of another edition of Backyard Estate Planning. So good you could join me this Saturday afternoon. I invite you to join me next Saturday, same time, Lord willing, and we'll talk again about wills and trusts and things like that. Just a reminder, this program will be rebroadcast tonight, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, on KIKI 990 on your AM radio dial. And then tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock, wow, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, right here on KHVH. Then, of course, if it's time to discuss your own estate planning situation, maybe you don't know what to do. Will, trust, power to what direction do I go? How does it fit together? Or maybe you've got your estate plan done and it's time to have it reviewed. Yep. Give my office a call. Give you a free initial consultation, and in that time we'll talk about designing an estate plan for you. Hopefully I can give you a quote, and then, hey, you decide what you want to do, and that's just fine. It gives me a chance to meet you, and I look forward to that. Interested? Give my office a call at 944-1554. Well, you've been listening to Backyard Estate Planning. I'm your host and neighbor. I'm Rowen Young. Until next time, see you in the backyard. Bye-bye now. See you.
You've been listening to Backyard Estate Planning. Rowen Young is a tax attorney practicing in Honolulu. To set up an appointment with Rowen, call 944-1554. That's 944-1554. Until next time, see ya in the backyard.